Welcome back to Dumb Stuff, Deniers say. We're like Mythbusters. If the myths were way dumber and the stakes were the collapse of civilization. Today's episode, a Denier favorite. There is no scientific consensus on climate change. You've probably heard this jingle from the trolls. Consensus is not science and science is not consensus. And it always comes with the same smug energy as a guy who just Googled confirmation bias and thinks he invented the warp drive. Here's the fact. At least 97% of climate scientists agree that humans are causing global warming. We're not guessing. We're not polling vibes. We're citing multiple peer-reviewed studies, including Cook et al., 2013, Oreskes, 2004, Doran and Zimmerman, 2009, Anderegg et al., 2010, Verhegen et al., 2014, and one of the most recent slam dunks, Linus, Holton, and Perry, 2021. This study reviewed over 88,000 climate-related peer-reviewed studies and found 99.85% support for anthropogenic global warming. Oh, and the U.S. National Academy of Sciences, and NASA, and the NOAA, and the IPCC, and the IAS, and the Royal Society, and the Copernicus Program. Literally every major scientific body on Earth, they all agree too. So where do the trolls come in? Enter stage right, the Heartland Institute, the CO2 Coalition. What's up with that? Just to name a few. These folks want you to believe the climate change consensus is a myth. They attack it relentlessly. They cherry-pick a handful of disgraced has-beens, most of whom haven't published in climate science in decades, if ever, and elevate them to prophet status. That's how you get headlines like, 500 scientists dispute climate change. Of course, they hope you don't vet the list of scientists. Virtually none of them are actually climate scientists. That's like interviewing a dentist about aerodynamics, then calling it a scientific controversy. And on multiple occasions, some weren't even aware their names were on the list. Awkward. And speaking of controversy, let's talk about one of the trolls' favorite weasel moves. Science isn't about consensus. Galileo disagreed with the consensus. Yeah, the Galileo fallacy. How original. Thing is, Galileo used data, math, and repeatable observation to overturn a worldview backed by religious dogma, not evidence. This is the key word, evidence. Here's the skinny. Consensus isn't a show of hands around the water cooler. It's the accumulation of evidence across an overwhelming majority of studies. Thousands of independent lines of evidence, from tree rings to satellite data, align on the same conclusion. The planet is warming. Humans are causing it. You don't get over 97% agreement by accident. You get it because the evidence is overwhelming. Evidence. Meanwhile, the Denioverse desperately cherry-picks fringe outliers because confusion is profitable. Let's be blunt. This whole "there's no consensus" shtick, it's a fossil fuel industry strategy straight out of the tobacco playbook. In fact, some of the same outfits that helped Big Tobacco deny cancer research are now helping the fossil fuel cartels deny climate science. Hey, Heartland Institute, we're looking at you. Doubt is their business model, and doubt pays well. So next time someone says, science isn't consensus and consensus isn't science, just interrupt and point out, exactly. Galileo proved that. And insert more troll crickets. That's it for this episode of Dumb Stuff Deniers Say. Like, subscribe, and remember, if your argument depends on over 97% of climate scientists being dead wrong, you might want to rethink your argument. See you next time.